Welcome back, Front Porch Chronicles. I'm your host, Clinton Foshee, and this is where we strip away the surface. We get raw, real, and unfiltered with conversations. And today we have somebody that embodies a fighter in every sense, in the ring, outside the ring, in life. We have Brooke Evans. You might know her on Instagram as Bare-Knuckle Brooke. Thank you so much for coming on and taking a seat with us on the front porch.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be on here.
Me too. Let's take it all the way back. Where are you from? How was your upbringing?
Okay, so I'm from it's like a smaller town, Erlanger, Kentucky is where I was born. It's close to like Florence and it's not city, but it's not like country necessarily. But I had a good upbringing, I was born in 87, okay? So I was one of the 90s babies. So our upbringing, I feel like, is a lot of us are a lot similar, like, running around, playing outside. We didn't have social media, drinking out of the water hoses, all that stuff you see, just playing and having fun and just running around.
Same. I was born in 77. I'm a little bit older, but it was the same thing. We didn't have all of this stuff that the kids have these days. Like, we had to be out of the house in the morning.
We were always, that's what I'm saying. Parenting was different back then. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's like, just get outside. Go do something and have fun.
Don't come into the street lights. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And don't make me come
But it was
find
fun.
you.
Yeah, like I was a tomboy growing up, when I was little and stuff like that, always playing outside in the dirt and in the mud and getting dirty and all the animals and riding horses, and grew up with tons of animals and dogs and turtles, just anything, I was an only child. So I had to like create my own entertainment, a lot of times it was with all the animals I would pick up and stuff.
I missed that part. I live in Southern California now, but being from originally Alabama, I miss those times and those things. Like, I remember we would like swim into the water and try to catch the turtles while they were on the logs out basking during the summer or whatever. I miss those things, and I wish my kids, my daughters now, they're like, no, they're bougie, but my sons, I have 2 sons, 3 daughters. My 2 sons would be all about it, but my daughters would be like, no, that water's dirty. I'm not going in there.
I can even remember like when we would have big rains or whatever, and I was, probably 3rd grade or something. We would go lay out in the street where the water would all be running down. Do you know what I mean? And like playing all these mud puddles.
We had I call it the redneck slip and slide, where we would get the tarps.
Oh, nice.
What type of kid were you? Follow the rules, pushing the boundaries?
I think when I was like young, like elementary, I feel like I was like follow the rules kind of, but I wasn't really defiant or anything, I don't think. But I at a young age, like I said, riding the horses and stuff like that, I was always drawn to like stuff that made me feel tough. It wasn't that I necessarily wanted to be cool, but I wanted to be like tough, and I can remember that kind of stuff maybe got me in a little bit of trouble or something, like tell me I can't do something because I'm too young or something. So I might go try to do it or something with one of the horses or something like that. But when I was really young, I don't think I was super defiant. That part of me, I guess, didn't start till maybe like 5th grade or later on in elementary school, middle school, stuff like that is when I was
Mine started kindergarten. I ain't gonna lie.
Were you automatically just like...
I grew up, it's funny, this is how poor white trash I was. I grew up my full name is Richard Clinton. So the Richard is after my uncle who got caught with my mom and my dad selling marijuana, a large quantity, to an undercover agent. So my mom was like 7 months pregnant with me. So my uncle took the charge. So they, as a thank you, I guess, named my first name is after him. So he got paroled like I was 3 or 4. Back then, you could get parole easier, and he came and lived with us. So like I remember I got suspended the first day of kindergarten. I told somebody to like suck my dick. But that's where I grew up. I
Yeah.
grew up like in that. So to me, like when I was a kid, thinking back, I remember like the kids when I was in like kindergarten or first grade, the kids would we had a 7-Eleven on the corner. And I remember the kids would be like, "Hey, I'll give you a Krispy Kreme donut if you'll go fight that kid." And I literally for a Krispy Kreme donut,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
I
do. I was definitely like the fight with, getting into it or trying to like intimidate other girls. Like, I'd be like, I'll fight you right now. And that was at a young age that I was like third, fourth grade, fifth grade. But I think, like I said, elementary school is when more of my like partying and experimenting and all that probably came into play more so. But when I grew up, the way I grew up, like it wasn't talked about. Like it just wasn't that generation, like alcoholism, addiction, drug use. Like it wasn't like nobody was like, hey, be careful, like not that I don't know if that would have made a difference, honestly. I mean, I don't know, but there just wasn't the awareness that there is now about what can happen, and then talking about genetics or things that maybe your family kind of has experienced, but it was so much more hush hush back then, you know? Like I'm very open with my son.
it was general toxicity, right? And generational.
Yeah,
Like I think back, yeah, like we were taught so many, like there were good times where, like you said, we went out and we played and we did, but there was also a lot of things that hindered us, I think, because we didn't talk about feelings, emotions, how to deal with things, how to navigate those things, because most of the time, whenever somebody is getting an addiction problem or whatever, generally they're running from something that they don't want to deal with or that they can't process. And so,
yeah,
what's the easiest way to not deal with something is use something, get drunk, or use,
yeah, just
drugs.
mad.
So I'm like you with my kids. I'm very open. I don't tell them, I don't go down like the rabbit hole of telling them how ratchet or how bad things were or, at that time, but I do kind of let them. I've also learned with my oldest daughter, one of the problems that I had is because I had a very troubled childhood, into early adulthood, would overly divulge with her the world and not really let her live in the
Yeah,
world, if that makes sense.
very protective.
Because when you, yeah, 100%. But I had to learn with her. I also have to let my kids grow and understand that they're not gonna listen to me whether I try to get them to or I try to be dire need with them. They're not. They're gonna do at the end of the day what they want.
Yeah.
If we went back, what would people say about you as a kid?
Innocent and stuff, probably that I was like super sweet. I feel like I was really nice, you know what I mean? Yeah, just kind. I was like nice to everybody. I don't know. I was definitely not a bully or never would I do that. I would stick up for people that were getting picked on and stuff like that. I couldn't stand that stuff. So yeah, probably outgoing. I might have been pretty funny back then. I think I'm kind of funny now, but I feel like even then when I was little, but so yeah, probably just like pretty.
Speaking of kind of addiction, when did all of that come into play for you, and what do you feel like pushed you down that?
So I wouldn't say that like I really had like a certain event or anything that pushed me because
Yeah,
with me, my thing that happened with me really, I mean, obviously, if I look back now in hindsight, there's a lot of things I look back on and I'm like, wow, that might have been a red flag. Like I was like sixth grade, I'm snorting pixie sticks, the thing you can do where you make each other pass out and you like, like
yeah,
you hyperventilate and then hold your I'm like front in line like I want to do it 16 million times. I remember I was just talking about this the other day and when they let go of me I obviously passed out, right, and my face went all the way across the carpet and it looked like I had road rash on the side of my face from the carpet burn or whatever. But
yeah,
so looking back, I was, yeah, like there was probably, and then even in middle school in it, like, I grew up again. I didn't think anything about partying. I didn't think partying was a bad thing. I didn't think partying was going to lead me into anything bad. In middle school and stuff is when I really started to like drink, smoke weed. I would tell my mom I was going to stay here, but I'd stay somewhere else. And I would go to all the parties. I hung out with like older kids. And then that just continued. Now, I did play sports in middle school. So I played sports all through middle school and high school. And I really think that kept me out of a lot of trouble because at least I had a goal and I
Balance
had
you
like a
out.
group. Yeah, it balanced me out, I think. I had goals and I had friends from those groups and stuff. But you best believe in the summer or when I didn't have practice, I mean, I was partying and in high school, partying a lot. I was drinking like Bacardi 151, in high school. That way I didn't have to drink as many beers to
Yeah.
get drunk. So these are all things that I look back and I'm like, I definitely just, but in my mind, I thought I was just having fun. I thought I was like a partier. But I don't think it got really out of control until after I got out of high school, because that's when I started like partying on pills and stuff like that too. So it started, I think, a little bit more consuming me out of high school. And then I think I did get into boxing right when I
Yeah.
graduated. But I can remember, taking pain pills over the weekend, partying on them. I smoked cigarettes like the whole time when I first got into boxing and stuff. So yeah, I think that's when it kind of took off. A lot of my traumas and stuff, I guess you could say, it was weird. It was like the deeper I got in my addiction and the more things were happening and the deeper I dug, right? That's when like crazy stuff started to happen or things that I had to deal with or whatever. But I think like initially, like what kind of jump started it was just kind of not realizing what I was getting myself into. I know that sounds crazy, but it's like by the time you're ready to try heroin, you're already too late. And that's what people don't understand too, because it's not like you wake up one morning, you're like, oh, I'm going to try heroin. That wasn't, now cocaine. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I did try that like when I was young. Cocaine doesn't sound as scary. Movies make that look cool. You know what I mean? But nobody makes heroin look cool. Okay. So it's like, I can't like think the first time I ever tried cocaine was like in high school. And again, it was just like fun. It's like, that adrenaline, risky thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I loved it, whatever. But the harder drugs and stuff like that, you're just digging yourself deeper and deeper and deeper, and everything becomes easier and easier and easier to do. And it's kind of when you've reached that point, you're kind of like in a bad spot.
Well,
You
and
can't probably stop on your own.
you learn to hate yourself.
Oh God, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like that's where I
Oh,
like you. For me, I never did drugs or alcohol. I mean, I shouldn't say never did. I smoked a whole lot of weed, but like any hard drugs, I never really did because I grew up. My dad was an alcoholic and dabbled in drugs. My mom was a pillhead. She was a very smart woman, has master's degree, teacher, all of those things, but she was a pillhead and she was a different person at home than what she was at the schoolhouse. And so for me,
they ever open about their struggles and stuff, or probably not, right? Were they ever open
no,
about it, or was it more?
it's like you said, you were taught to shut up. Like you didn't
Yeah,
talk
I
about those
know.
things. You didn't.
I know.
It was taboo. And so we
Yeah, I
were
know.
taught the most effed up things was we were taught you're supposed to protect family. How
Yeah,
do you protect family? You don't tell. Well, for me, that was a double edged sword because I was sexually assaulted by a cousin, right? And
yeah.
so I didn't even know it happened. It was so traumatic to me that until I started going to therapy and talking about all
Oh,
of these things, then I went to MDR and that's when I realized I had
oh,
been
really?
sexually yeah. And so then once I found out, it made sense because for me, I didn't do
And you
drugs or
didn't realize, you
alcohol.
didn't know that until you did the EMDR, right? I'm so interested in EMDR and I want to do it so bad, but a lot of insurances don't cover it, you know what I mean? But it's something I would love to like tap into. Did you did you like it? I mean, did you think it helped you or did it like bring up too much that you were like, wow, okay.
It 100% helped me because it unearthed. So for me, I'll kind of give you a back step. So for me, I was a whore, right? I slept with a lot of women, and it was because I was taught at an early age to over sexualize myself and that my only self worth or value was sexual energy, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't talk about any of these things, some of which I didn't know. So I was holding on. So I was constant in fear that if I talk about things or if I try to work things out, then I'm going to have to talk about people that I was told that I have to protect, that I was told I
Yeah.
wasn't supposed to talk about. So EMDR helped me because once I realized that what happened, my therapist said, does it make sense? And I said, what? She said, you've slept with all these women. You got at least 5 kids by 3 different women. You're a fighter. You have done all of these, what you deem as manly things. You were trying to prove your manhood through toxic traits to mask, right? And
Yeah.
so it was good in that sense because then you get some sort of normalcy because you can be like, okay, not any excuse on me doing those things because I
But
did
you can
those
make
things.
that connection, you know, you can.
Yes, because unless you know how you're wired, and by wired, I mean, there's a lot of things that have happened to us in our lifetime that people don't all the way realize, or they don't know, hey, that probably was inappropriate and it led me down a path of feeling a certain way. So
Yeah.
EMDR was good on that side of it, but you take somebody that had abandonment issues and all these other issues. My dad was also very physically and verbally abusive. So you take somebody who already is kind of their mind is in chaos and they're constantly in survival mode. And I went to my mom and I was like, hey, this happened because it was her uncle's son that had done it. And so I didn't want to go tell my mom because I didn't want my mom to think I'm lying, or because most of the time, generally when somebody's been sexually assaulted,
It
raped,
was a
or what.
big, yeah, it's a big thing to try to talk about. And you have this weird guilt that maybe, you know, that it's like, maybe it was your, there's a lot that, yeah, there's a
Yeah,
lot that goes
and
into
then you're like, if I tell somebody, are they going to believe me? Because what's the first thing
or
that
that.
happens when people come out now and they say, hey, this happened to me years ago? People are like, well, if it happened to you, why didn't you say something about it 20 years
Yeah. Or
ago?
that.
Why are
Yeah.
you waiting 20 years? And so, like, we have these stereotypes and these taboos that people hold on to this shit, and it's cancerous.
Yeah.
And so I came to my mom and I said, hey, this happened. I just want to be open and honest with you. I don't want, and she started crying. It was over the phone. And I'm like, well, she's like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, it's okay. It's not your fault. And she goes, well, I never thought they would do it to a family member.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, you take somebody with all this already stuff, and then you find out the one person, your mom, who's supposed to like protect you and take
Yeah.
care of you and nurture you no matter what. Like, because I would die for my kids. People say that,
Yeah.
but I would literally die to protect my
Hmm.
kids. And so MDR was good for me in a lot of ways. And that honestly ultimately turned out good for me because it allowed me to further see what the world really is and be able to see people for who and what they are. Because a lot of times we get delusional and we
Yeah.
feel like if we love somebody, they'll eventually love us. If we do enough for them, they'll eventually, but at the end of the day, it's
Hmm.
all. So have you thought about doing it?
Yeah, I've thought about it. Yeah, I have. Like I said, I know it's pretty expensive. Like the sessions are, and a lot of insurance doesn't cover it, you know. But it's something I've looked into. I do just regular therapy and stuff like that, and then I work my program and stuff. But it is something that I probably will look into in the future because I want
I
to
would,
continue to grow and I want to continue to work on myself. And it's like a lot of these behaviors that we have. It's like, where do they come from? Where do they stem from? I don't even. I think that things like that allow you to uncover little things like that, you know, or big things like that, you know,
yeah,
and
no,
let you peel
100%.
away the layers.
The more that I understand myself, it helps me with navigating life because even like in relationships or dating, I would see a red flag and girl, I would make that flag everything
Oh
but
yeah.
red flag because again, delusional. But at the end of the day, you live and you learn and you kind of progress. Was there ever a rock bottom moment that you were like, hey, you know what? I don't know if I'm coming back from this.
So many, like so many. I'm not even kidding. So many rock bottoms, really. And I'm not kidding, you know, because it was like you hit one rock bottom, you're like, wow, this is bad. Everybody knows I'm on drugs. Everybody knows I'm using heroin. That was the first time when I had been up for a couple of days, and I had my son at this time. He was probably 3.
Yeah.
And I wasn't an IV drug user or anything yet, but I was using heroin and meth and all that stuff. Anyway, I guess my mom and dad, they're not married or anything, but when all this stuff happened, they kind of had to like work together, you know.
Yeah.
I wake up and my mom and dad are sitting on the couch, and they had gotten in my wallet because somebody had told them that I was doing dumb shit, you know, or whatever. And
Yeah.
people had looking out for me, but I don't know what the people's motives were, whatever. So I wake up and I walk out there, and they're sitting there, and I look, and they got my pack of heroin on the table that they had gotten on my wallet, you know, and I'm like, and they're like, so what's going on? I'm like, look, here's the deal. And I was like, so yeah, I'm using drugs, right? And I'm on heroin. And I'm like, but if I don't do that, I'm going to be really sick. So I had to like explain to them like this dope stick stuff, all that, you know, and they didn't end up giving me that, but they help me. There's like different medications, Suboxone and things
Yeah.
like this to help
Yeah.
you medically
To
detox.
help you
So they like
detox.
help, yeah, they helped me find some Suboxone and stuff like that, and took me to some doctors. But that was like, and you gotta think at that time, I mean, that's kind of, to me, that was like a little bit rock bottomish, because I went from partying to here's my family with heroin on the table, like looking at me like, what are you doing? And I'm like, shit, like, okay, how do I explain this? But you know, it was weird because even then though, I don't know if I was really ready to be sober yet. I was thinking that maybe everybody was overreacting. It was like, you know, I thought there was a long time that I just thought that that the only reason my life was unmanageable is because of my consequences. Like because of these consequences I was getting. I didn't think it was actually what I was doing. Like I got to one point where I was like, I think it's stupid drugs are even illegal. Like why can't I do what I want to do? Like that's really how I felt, you know?
Yeah.
But there are so many different rock bottoms because, you know, fast forward, I mean, eventually I become an IV drug user. So then you can imagine what that looks like. And losing custody of my son, like the very first time I ever lost custody of him, that was like terrible and traumatic. But what's messed up is when you hit these rock bottoms, like especially kind of early on, it almost makes you use more because it's this vicious cycle. And like how you're talking about
Numbing.
hating yourself, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah. And two, it's like, here I am being told like, that I can't be around my son and I can't. And the whole reason I had lost custody of him any of the times, but the first time in particular, so it was around that time that my parents wasn't on the needle or nothing like that. So I'd gone around to a bunch of different treatment centers. I was trying to figure, I'd never been to rehab or nothing, right? So we're kind
Yeah.
of like trying to figure out how this
Figuring it
works.
out.
Yeah, I had gotten some Suboxone, so I wasn't that sick. Trying to do that. We had gone to this doctor that was a Suboxone doctor, and it was all the way like in Lexington, so it's kind of far. What ended up happening was they took me to this detox place, and I don't know how the system works at this time, right? I've never been involved with any of this. And the lady, when she did my intake, was like asking me questions about my son. Hunter at this time's 3 years old. And I'm doing my intake, and I'm not exactly being nice, okay? Because I'm just like, a lot's going on. My whole
Yeah.
world is crumbling around me, and I'm like, and she was like, so I kind of had a bad attitude, and she was asking me questions. She's like, so are you high around your son? I'm like, I'm fucking high every day. Like I have to be high or I'm sick. You know what I mean? And really you get to a point where you're not even high, honestly. You're just getting yourself well. Like you're just getting yourself well where you can just function. So I'm telling her these things, you know, and she's asking me these questions, and she's like, have you ever drove in the car with your son when you're high? And I'm like, well, again, I'm hot. Like I use every day. So whatever I'm doing that day, that's what I'm doing. Right. So she's just taking notes of all this stuff. And I ended up leaving the rehab. So I was there for maybe like 5 hours, you know, and my
Yeah.
mom and dad are the one who took me. And they told that woman, they were like, you know, we have her son. He's fine. He's safe, you know, all that. Don't worry, you know. They were very active. My grandma, my mom, my dad, they, you know, took care of Hunter when stuff like all that was going on. Well, anyway, I left and they came back and got me because I was like, I don't want to stay here. We got to figure something else out, which I ended up going to a different rehab, and it kind of worked out for a while. But that woman, what happened was because I left against medical advice, because I had said all that stuff, she called CPS, social services. And so within a couple of days, I mean, being back home, and we're in the process of figuring out like a longer term treatment center, honestly, like a 30-day place. And they show up, you know, and it was crazy because I hadn't used probably in 4 days. 4 or 5
Yeah.
days, which is enough time for heroin and stuff to be out of your system. But I was so sick that I wasn't up and moving. So I guess my metabolism wasn't burning it very well.
Flowing,
Long
yeah.
story short, they have me go do a drug test. CPS does.
Yeah.
And my mom and dad, everybody's at the apartment, Hunter's there, whatever. They check, you know, to make sure everything's clean, blah, blah, blah. And I went and tested positive because it was still in my system, and they took custody, you know, and told me that I couldn't be around him. And you got to think, so this is somebody that hasn't been involved in the system. I don't know anything. And you're telling me that I can't be around my kid without being monitored. And it was like, it crushed me. And I had it, my dog. So I had my dog, Baron at the time. And I can remember just crying and being like, they can't take my dog from me, can they? Like my own son, my child, you know? And it was like, and I mean, yes, looking back now, okay, again, in hindsight, and I can see things, and as things progress, it was the best thing for sure for my mom and dad and grandma to have him and take care of him. No doubt in my mind. But it's really hard to comprehend that you're not a piece of shit when somebody's telling you that you're not allowed to be around your kid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're telling me I can't be around my child, and it's like, all it made me want to do was like use more, because I was like, obviously I am a piece of crap then, you know. Again, justifying, it's not the, that's just how I looked at it at that time.
I call it
So
the
that,
devil's playground.
yeah, because that was,
And
yeah, so that was terrible. I think about, you know, you have like a mama bear out in the woods, you know. This is how I kept thinking of it. I'm like, you go take her cub. I don't care what state that mama bear's in, okay? Whether she's mangy and like a mess or what, it's still her baby, right? It's still her
yeah.
child. And it's a terrible, terrible feeling. And I thank God that like my mom and dad and my grandma were like the people that stepped up and all that, because I see that a lot. And it's so sad when people are struggling with addiction and alcoholism and they don't have family and there's kids involved, and a lot of time they go to foster homes, which the truth is foster homes are just can be really messed up. Like
Yeah.
I have heard from being in rehabs and jails and all that, some of these stories you're just like, wow, you know, it's just terrible, absolutely terrible. And that's the foster, you know, that the kids are going to.
What you were going through at the time that you were going through.
Probably how much I hated myself, like how much I really hated myself. Like it just as hard as everybody else was being on me, or as everybody was like disgusted with me and all that. Like I felt like that about myself times 100. You know what I mean? And then another thing is like for me, and this is why I don't do anything. I'm so protective over my sobriety. Like I don't drink, I don't smoke weed. I'm completely abstinent because that is the only way I can stay sober. Some
Yeah.
people can dibble and dabble and all that, or just smoke
I
weed or just
can't
drink, and that's
either.
great. Yeah, but you know what I mean? Some people are like that, and like, but I can't, and I've learned that the hard way over and over.
Yeah.
My mom and them, you know, are just like, they would be like, why can't you just stop? Like, just stop, you know, and it's like, I can't, you know, I like couldn't just stop. And it's like, if I could have just stopped, I would have, like before I went to jail or before I lost Hunter or all these things. Like it had just gotten a hold of me where I couldn't. And I know that that's how it is. That's why I don't do anything, because I know I don't want to go through all that shit again to get sober, because it's not easy to get sober. It is not.
No, no. And that's the thing where people don't have enough grace and mercy in our society these days, where they look at it from like what you're saying. Because again, we have our minds warped of what we're taught, because people think it's just easy. Well, yeah, just stop. Believe me. It's kind of like boxing or UFC or whatever. It's like when you watch a fight with somebody and they're like, oh, why don't he just get up? Ma'am, I promise you, he does not want to get hammer fisted in his face.
I know. Yeah,
If he
exactly.
could get up, he would get up. You know,
Yeah.
what was it that really made you say, hey, I've got to change?
Probably before I went. So this is the longest I've ever been sober. I have a little over 6
Congrats,
years.
by the way.
Thank you so much. But prior to this, I managed to get like 9 months. That's the longest
Yeah.
I've ever had sober before this. And I think it's important to say that, because there's so many people out there that keep trying and they keep trying. They can only get 30 days, 40 days, whatever. It's like, all I know is you got to keep trying, because one of them times, you know what I mean? It's like, I never thought I would get
Sticks.
this much sobriety. I never thought I'd be here, you know? But anyway, I had the 9 months that I was in a long-term treatment center, where you go through phases and stuff and you kind of get more freedoms, but you stay there. But that was the first time that I really actually wanted to be sober. And I was like, I really wanted this. And it was just a accumulation of a bunch of stuff prior to I actually ended up getting a promoting contraband charge. I got some charges and stuff like that. I was on diversion. I had been Casey lawed, which we do this thing in Kentucky. You can Casey law where if you have a family member or a child or something, or that's like using and they're harm to themselves with the drugs and all that, you can actually kind of puts a warrant out for them and they have to get treatment basically. But I mean, I got Casey lawed so many times, like, and I would just take off running and I would whatever. One of the times I got picked up on the warrant for the warrant, I had stuff on me and all that, and I ended up getting a promoting contraband charge. But long story short, I think I just kind of got tired. I guess I got tired of running, and I got tired of, it was like I was running from myself, really, but no, everywhere I went, there I was, okay? You know, I could be in the bottom of a trap house apartment trying to find a phone charger, yelling at a homeless man to hold a flashlight for me while I'm trying to hit my vein. No fear. I don't care. There had been so much that had happened to me at this point. I didn't care. You know what I mean? I didn't care. It's not that I necessarily like wanted to die because of the love I had for Hunter. You know what I mean? I think there was something in me, I guess, that didn't completely want to give up, right? But at the same time, when I'd be shooting heroin and all that, if that was the one that took me out, so be it. You know, so I think I just got to that point. I was just tired. I can remember somebody had picked me up at this trap house place, and my dad, I was in a UDF bathroom. These people dropped me off, and I'm in the bathroom, and I'm still trying to just get another shot, you know, trying to see what all I got, and I got everything dumped on the floor, and my dad opens the door, you know, and I'm just sitting there on the floor, and I looked at him, and I'm like, I need help. I was like, I really just need help. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I had already lost, at this point, I don't have custody of Hunter at this time. And I'd lost custody because I would kind of get stuff together for a little bit and then mess up. But yeah, so when I went to that treatment center, I really gave it my all. And I really tried. And I had a different outlook on it. I really wanted it, you know? I really wanted it that time. And then I just made some mistakes. When I got out, I had a relapse on diet pills. I had gotten out of the treatment center. I'd gained a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And I got this job at a kickboxing studio. So I wanted to be like fit, you know what I mean? I'm like, I was being an instructor or whatever. And a friend of mine, she had those prescription diet pills. They're like Adipax. It's kind of like Adderall.
Yeah.
And you got to think, I'm somebody who's, I'm shooting heroin, meth, crack, okay, and all that. So in my mind, I'm like, these little diet pills are not going to take me back. Because in my motives were good. My motives were completely, I just wanted to lose some weight. Not even joking. Like there was no fiber that still wanted to use, right? Or get high or whatever. I was happy. Things were coming together. I got custody back of Hunter, all that stuff. And I got some of them diet pills. And I, no joke, was snorting them out of $1 bill by the end of the night. Like I took a couple of them, right? Or just took them. And then I'm snorting them out of $1 bill at the end of the night. And then I was getting meth like 3 days later. And I'm like, I'm just not going to go back on the needle. And then I get the needle. And then within 2.5 weeks, I'm full blown addiction again. And that was like, and as much as that sucked to like have to have that relapse. And at that time I was working a program. I was, doing AA, and I'd made like these amends to my son, and I'd made these amends like that I wanted, you know, to do different, and I was going to do better, and blah blah blah. And so as shitty as it all was, to have to say, I guess, you know, I failed or whatever. If it wasn't for that happening, I wouldn't have like just learned that I really can't do anything. Do you know what I mean? Like how you know?
Well, I don't think people succeed unless they fail.
Yeah. And
That
I don't, and
sounds
it's like,
like a
so,
reverse negative, but it's
I know.
really not failing. Like I consider it.
No, it's like a learning experience.
Yes.
It's like when you lose a fight. Okay, you lose a fight, right? Did you fail? Like if anything, any of my fights that I lost or didn't do this or didn't do that, it's like those are the ones that you learn the most from. You don't learn as much from like a fight that you go out there and just wipe the other person out and win. Like you learn when you're struggling and you're trying to figure stuff out, and you learn by like what doesn't work, you know? Honestly.
100%. What was the hardest part of recovery for you? Was it the physical, the mental, or the emotional?
Probably my perception of myself. So whatever you want to call that. It's probably a mixture of mental and emotional, I think. Because the physical, believe it or not, physical is terrible. Absolutely terrible. You're sick. You don't want to move, blah, blah, blah. But you can push through that. You can get through that. You can medicate yourself through that. It's what you're left with in your brain, right? And what you're thinking and the way you're looking at yourself. And then too, it was like, after that relapse I had, right, on those
Yeah.
diet pills and all that. So I went on that little run, and then I ended up actually in jail. That's when I got my felony and all that, and I ended up in jail again. I'd been to jail tons of different times before, but this
Yeah.
time I was in there for almost a year. But it was right after that relapse. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because I'm so grateful, because it was weird. It was like, that was the first time I think that I really like made amends to like myself, because I was sitting in jail, and I had gone to a 30-day place before I had to go turn myself in, because I didn't
Yeah.
want to be sick in jail. So I had 30 days of not using, right? And then here I am sitting in jail. I eventually get sentenced to the SAP program and all that. So it's a lot of time to like think and reflect. But it
Reflect.
was the
Yeah.
first time, like I ever thought to myself, I'm like, what am I doing to myself? Not so much what am I doing to everybody else, and not what am I doing to my son and all that, which is all obvious, but I truly felt it within me. I was like, why am I doing this to me? Like, why do I hate me so much? And I would think about me when I was young, and I would think about, when I was pregnant with my son. I would think about like all these happy things, and it's like, why am I destroying myself? Like, I deserve better for me. And I never had that thought before, ever. In
Yeah.
fact, think about it. Like, getting out of that treatment center and thinking I'm fat and need to lose weight in the diet pills, that's probably still not loving yourself very much, right? You see what I mean? Like, I think I was always just picking myself apart. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough, whatever. But it was like when I was stripped from everything and I was like in jail and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I've got to like love myself more than this. Like, it was weird, but it wasn't any other motives than just within me. And that's when they're like, people will be like, and everybody's different, but sometimes it's like, you can't just get sober for your son, or you can't get sober for your family. It's like, you really have to want it for yourself. And it was like, I really understood what that meant. But that was the hardest part. You asked. That was what you asked. You're like, what's the hardest part of recovery? That piece. Because I don't
I
know
feel it
where it
100.
finally
Yeah.
came from, or whatever. But that's the piece that if you can't
That was the
eventually, you know
final
what I
piece
mean?
to the puzzle, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah, and don't get it twisted either. I don't ever think I'm like cured and good. You know what I mean? Like, anything could happen. But I do know that that's been a pivotal turning point. And the farther I've been away from the drugs and the farther I've been living my life
The
the way I
easier
have,
it
it's like,
gets.
yeah, it does get easier. Like, the option to get high now is not like it was at 30, 40, even 60 days sober.
Yeah.
It's like,
Habits, one way or the other, habits are contagious, is
yeah.
what I like to say. Do you feel like somebody, or there was somebody along the way that just refused to give up on
Oh,
you?
so many people. A lot of people, really. Uh, yeah. So I mean, geez, my family, they all, and this is another thing. Like, it's weird. Sometimes when I talk about my recovery, especially in situations like, so when my meetings and stuff, and I give my
Yeah.
lead, it's different, right? Because you're sharing your experience, strength, and hope to help people, right? But we're all on the same page. We're all in recovery, right? So when I'm on these platforms, like, sometimes I get this weird, like, guilt still, because I think to myself, like, everything I've put my family through and what the families have to deal with. Do you know what I mean? It's like, because the things I have put my mom, my dad, my grandma, my son, and like, and they didn't give up on me. They were always there. But it's like, I think sometimes when there's a stigma, or sometimes when people are angry at people that are addicts or alcoholics, maybe they have a family member that just hasn't got sober. And it's like a deep anger or resentment towards that. I don't know. Does that make sense what I just said? It's like weird
It
to
makes
almost feel,
it 100 makes sense. In a flip side to what we're talking about you feeling guilty about putting them through that, think about how amazing you are to choose to recover. Think about how proud they are of you, because
yeah.
the devil had you in clasp and was dragging you down. And yeah,
Yeah.
it took peaks and valleys, and it took a lot of shit to get to where you are, but you chose, and you are choosing to get up every day and fight the good fight. That, as a, your grandparent, your parent, whoever has to feel good to know that they were part of that journey with you.
Yeah, and because I even was talking to my mom the other day about it, and I brought this up, and she goes, "Brooke,
Yeah,
are you serious?" She's like it is not easy to do what you do, and you're doing like we're, but it is. It's sometimes it's like the further you get away from it and all that, you kind of look back and you're like, I guess you just start to. You're not as selfish. I'm not as selfish, and I can see what I put everybody through, and I'm able to see these things and. But yeah, so my family, they were there through it all. My sponsor who I had through recovery, she taught me so much because she was there when I was in jail. She would do phone calls with me when I relapsed. I'd go over her house, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
there's plenty of times she hung up on me and was like, get sober, and just hung up, right? Because she was tired
yeah,
of hearing my stuff. But so many friends and these friends and stuff that I made through rehabs and jails and stuff like that, like they're still in my life today.
yeah,
There's a girl that I was in jail with in the program I give her and her daughter private sessions at boxing, friends I've made that are still supporting me in there, and I support them. And just these like lifelong friendships that I've made through all that, through all the messiness.
yeah. When you look at the old Brooke versus today, what's the biggest shift in the way you see yourself?
It's the self-worth. Like
Yeah,
now, which it's a still struggle, and there's still things that I deal with, and little demons that I battle with that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I was so just lost, and everything was so dark. I don't know.
100%. I did a post today. I was on a podcast last week, somebody else's podcast, and I said something in that about exactly what you're talking about. And I struggle every day with the self-worth side of it. I was told so much that I would never be this or never be that, that even to this day, I've won world championships. I've won Pan American championships. I've won things. But for me, in my mind, everybody's like, oh, you're so good. In my mind, I never think. I'm always like, oh, yeah, that's cool, but I could have, whatever. So it's a constant struggle to do that. So I know you previously had done boxing before. What made you shift to bare knuckle?
Because the opportunity presented itself. So here the past like 2 years, I guess, that I've been pro boxing. So you got
Yeah,
to think I don't have some stellar amateur background. I mean, I have plenty of amateur fights and stuff, but it's not like I'm like some Olympic, or was doing it. I just didn't have that kind of backing, right? To like be
yeah,
when I turned pro. So a lot of the opportunities I was getting, it's like you're going against someone that it's their promotion, it's their hometown, and you got to look out for yourself a little bit, the business side, I guess, of pro boxing. So I was kind of in the process of like navigating that. Because in my
yeah,
mind, my goal for my pro boxing, this was my goal, my original goal. Well, I wanted to turn pro. And then I was like,
yeah,
okay, once I turn pro, I wanted to just have a cool experience. I wanted to like maybe get to fight on ESPN Plus or like, like some big stage. That was what I was thinking. So I was trying to navigate how to get my self where I could be in a position to do that. Okay. Which it wasn't very easy, right?
yeah,
And right around that time, I had somebody reach out to me who he's kind of my manager now, and he like helps me out with everything. Tyler Pauls. He reached out to me through social media and was like, have you ever thought of Bare-Knuckle, the BKFC? And I didn't even believe him at first. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever.
yeah,
And he's like telling me this stuff, and I get to talking with him. And long story short, like it was all true. And I got to be on like a phone call with him and David Feldman and, all these things. And I was like, no way. Like, this is a like cool opportunity. And I'm 38. I would be crazy not to take it.
yeah.
And it'll be an awesome experience. And think that I want to use it all for the good. I want to maybe start like a nonprofit, things like that. And I feel like on a platform like this, I'll have that ability.
Yeah. Let me ask you, do you feel like fighting is therapy to you?
Sure. Yeah.
What message do you hope, especially young women, take away from your story when they see you fight?
You know, you can do anything you want to do, and like, don't give up on things. Like, you can do anything you put your mind to. And you gotta think, I'm 38, I'm a single mom, I work, I support me and my son. I'm in recovery. I'm a woman that's out here and I'm trying to make my way like in a like good, honest, genuine way.
You're
Right?
powerful.
Oh, thank you.
I'm very good at reading people. You're very powerful in a way that you don't even really know. To go through what you went through and to have the strength to choose to recover and choose to wake up each day, because it's a struggle. Choose to wake up each day and do the right thing when the easy way is to go the opposite way. That is strong and that is powerful. And not just women, but anybody
Yeah.
that sees that would know you are a lioness for that.
Thank you so much. That means
You're
a lot.
welcome. You're welcome.
It really
You
does.
know, you've got a fight coming up. When is that?
It's October 18th. So it's soon. I'm 7 weeks.
Sweet. Where are you fighting at?
It's going to be Hammond, Indiana at the Horseshoe Casino.
Yeah, my nephew lives on the border of like Louisville, and it's technically Indiana, but like he lives like right over the border, so I know about it.
Okay, this is like close to Chicago.
Yeah, right on the border. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is different about Brooke walking into fights before?
I'll tell you that something that's different is like, I'm so grateful to have this opportunity, right? And I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for this experience. So I'm coming from this place where it's like, I am so like just happy to be there and I know that no matter what, it's going to be great. You get what I mean? No matter what happens. And let me just tell you though, because I think that that's a very good place for me to be because having that fear of like, oh, of course, like, I hope I do good. I want to win. Okay. There is all that, right? But sometimes that pressure can break you down. Okay. So to come from a place that you're just pumped to be there and you're like, this is going to be fucking awesome. Right. Like, that's when I fight good. That's when I do things good. You know what I mean?
Free.
Like, just having,
You're free.
yeah. Yeah. You get what I mean? Like, I'm like, whatever happens, happens. Like, here I am. This is great. This is awesome. It's going to be fun,
I love
after.
it.
It's never the nerves and stuff going or no enduring are never fun, but after it's always a relief. You're like, woo, okay, I did that.
Always.
You
I
know?
had 2 amateur
Yeah.
MMA fights, and I remember my first fight. I came over after round one. Well, I say I remember. I don't remember, but they said I came over after round one and said, "Are we done yet?" I ended up winning, but it was like people don't understand like the
It's a lot.
adrenaline
Yeah.
and stuff that goes into it. When fans tune in to your fight, what did you want them to see?
Somebody that knows how to fight because I know how to fight. I have like technique and I train my ass off, and I'm always going and getting sparring here and sparring there. And with these women, like if there is a high level woman or girl or where anywhere near me, I'm going and getting work with her. I
Yeah.
try to train with like these people and I have really worked hard to get this like technique and the ring IQ and all that. So that mixed with just my natural aggression and my natural just hit me, I'm going to hit you 10 times harder, about 16 more times, right? Like mixed with that, right? Because I had to find a balance because the early me fighting was very much just like down and I'm standing and we're trading, right?
Me too.
And it's like now it's like head movement, your range, your distance, what are we just so much more, right? So yeah.
I'm the same. If you could sit with younger Brooke before she turned to the drugs, what would you tell her now?
Makes me want to cry. I don't know. I probably just say you're going to be really proud of yourself one day.
You're going to make me cry. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
To go through what you've been through and to choose yourself and to choose to do the good thing is very, 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 very hard. And got me cracking up. I'm very proud of. I know this is the first time we talked, but I kind of followed your journey because I vetted kind of you beforehand. But I think your story and the light that you are, every time that you second guess or doubt yourself and your self-worth, know that there's so many people that are watching you and your story and are grateful for the person that you are.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. And my son, I'll tell you what, he looks up to me so much, you know, and everything we've been through, and that's something else that's like I'm so grateful for my relationship with him, and it's such a beautiful thing, and
I
it's come from a
love it.
lot. You know?
I love it. I want like wow. I could feel the power in your story and who you are and watching your son. So it's powerful. You know,
Yeah.
legacy is a word that's thrown around a lot. What do you hope yours is?
Yeah, I was asked this somewhere else, and I can remember I talked about and touched on it's like legacy to me is like what kind of person are you? Like what kind of person are you? What are you doing to help others, and how I am with my son, okay? And how I'm trying to raise him, and how I'm showing him that even having struggles, even all these things, like you can still keep pushing forward. I try to instill like to be honest and genuine and all these things. And like I said, what are because like okay, if I can do the nonprofit and give back to others, and that's what legacy is to me. It's what kind of mom I am, because my son will be the next generation, right? And what kind of man am I raising, right? And people can look at my story, or people can think that God, you know, everything that he had to go through, but he is such an amazing kid, you know. And I think that if he wouldn't have seen some of the struggles, you know, maybe he wouldn't have the outlooks he has, you know. But I really think it's just, yeah, what kind of mom I am, how I'm raising him, and how I'm treating others, and what I'm doing for other, and what I'm putting out in the world, just in general. Just what do you put out there?
Resilience, grit,
Mhm.
determination, powerful, like all of these things instantly pop in. You know, I want to thank you so much for coming in and sitting down and
Thank
talking
you
to me.
for having me. I can't believe I cried. I don't cry very
I
much,
needed a
okay?
little cry. Look, you see, look, I needed a little cry too. I've got a meeting and they're going to be like, what the hell's wrong with you?
I
But
have, and look, I have the ugliest cry face because I don't cry, so I try to hold it in, and my
I do
face starts to
too. Look,
contort.
I was over here. Look, my lip was trembling. Like when you said I'm gonna cry, I knew it was coming, and
Yeah,
my lip was
I know.
quivering. But I thank
Yeah,
you so much for being the person that you are, coming on and sharing your story. It's gonna be a light to a lot of people.
thank you
Keep
so much.
shining and being the light you are. I'm always here. Anything that you need, you got my personal number now. Anything that you need, text or call me. I mean that from the heart. I'm always here. And you're
Thank you.
always
That means so
welcome.
much.
You're always welcome on the front porch. And I'll definitely, me and my family will be cheering for you at your fight.
October 18th. Yep, Hammond,
October
Indiana.
18th, 2 weeks for my birthday.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Yeah, I'll see you.
Yeah.
Bye.